Hey there citizens, and welcome to my channel, CasaBLACK Gaming. As usual, I'm Black, and I want to also welcome you to my little Fireside chat. A place where I can discuss a new upcoming feature in detail and also turn it into an envisioned scenario to help us get a feel for what it will be like to actually use the new feature. The new feature in this Fireside chat is medical gameplay. Not only do I want to discuss the ins and outs of what we learned, but I also want to bring up a good question that my wife brought up after we watched this episode. Can you make any money as a medical professional in Star Citizen? I'm not entirely sure, but we'll discuss that and more, so sit back, grab a cup of coffee or tea, and let's discuss medical gameplay and what it will be like to live that healer life. Welcome back. So in the most recent Calling All Devs episode from Star Citizen, we learned more details about medical gameplay. From a gameplay standpoint, medical healing will take place after a player receives one of several new player statuses. Now, player statuses are things that your character can experience like we already have in games. Things like being hungry, thirsty, cold, hot, or out of breathable air. Some new statuses that will be coming with medical gameplay, which is scheduled for update 3.15, are things like double vision for like maybe head injuries, or limping if one of your legs has sustained a minor injury like a fracture. You might get bloody vision if you have an open wound on your head or face, or you might sway, fall down, or be unable to climb a ladder to get back into your ship. Another player status for more serious injuries might be unconsciousness or slowly dying. Depending on your injury tier, which there will be 3 of them, but more on that in a second, that will depend on your severity of symptoms and thus will dictate where you can be treated. There will be 3 tiers of injuries. Tier 3 is the least severe and might be something like fractures or a bump on the noggin, which might cause things like limping or not being able to hold your weapon straight, so aiming would become more difficult. The Cutlass Red will be a ship that can treat Tier 3 injuries in their bed. Also of note about the Cutlass Red is that it will lose its respawn bed, but this was always to be, so there's no use getting upset about it. Think of the Cutlass Red as an ambulance and you'll be of the right mindset. A Tier 2 injury would probably be something like a limb not quite working but still not life-threatening. I would assume some head injuries that cause things like double vision, making it hard to see on the screen, or if you're bleeding pretty badly and unable to fully operate yourself or vehicles. I'm assuming here because Rich, the director who was discussing these tiers, glossed over Tier 2. The Tier 2 ship will be the RSI Apollo and will be able to treat Tier 2 and Tier 3 injuries. Tier 1 will be the nasty injuries that cause players to be on the brink of death and will require a hospital trip, or will be treatable one day on the larger scientific vessel, the Endeavour Hope. But that seems at least 1 or 2 years away. With medical gameplay and those tiers I just discussed will also come some new medical tools. At the basic level will be the Greycat multi-tool attachment, which will serve similar to the other revamped tools that we will be covering over the next couple of updates. The multi-tool attachments will be simplified basic versions, allowing you to do some light scavenging, mining, healing, and tractor beaming. In regards to the medical attachment though, that tool will be able to only heal similar to a med pen, but slightly improved. But more importantly, it will be able to scan a person to see the severity of their injuries. It will heal some of your base health pool, but not be able to allow for various chemicals to be mixed together to create a more potent healing solution. With injuries, you'll have your health pool like we do now, but also different health pools for the different appendages as well as your core torso and head. Let's say you get hit in the arm for like 20 points of damage. The more damage you take to that arm, the higher tier injury you will receive. The global health pool of 100 will still be in the game and will determine your up or down state. When you go below 100, you enter the down state where your character cannot move and must be revived by another player using a med pen or multi-tool. That revive will only allow you to be functional enough just to get yourself or be taken to the proper tier medical facility. Med pens and multi-tools cannot heal any injury, and neither can the dedicated medical tool that's coming. All these tools can do are heal the injury symptoms, so like pain, etc. Again, just enough to make you mobile to get you to a proper facility. There will be different tiers of chemicals to use in these guns with proper lore-based names. Also of note is that these new 4 bespoke chemicals and your blood levels will be available to read in your Mobiglass widget via your suit, as well as your alcohol level. Overdosing will cause the player to pass out, so administering these drugs properly versus the injury type will be important. There will be timers associated with the drugs given, so you now know how much to give someone in order to get them back to where they need to be treated in the proper amount of time. So what happens when you die? Well, this is an answer humankind has been struggling with for eons. But in Star Citizen, Death of a Spaceman is coming, and the early stages of that will be in 3.15 when medical gameplay goes live. So can you die? Well, the answer to that is yes, as Rich stated here.
If you receive, and this is the 1%, if you receive more damage than your entire health bar, again, so let's say you go from 100 to minus 100, aka you get shot with an Idris railgun and you're an EVA, you will go straight to death. That's like, go to jail, don't collect your 200, that's it. So essentially, I should not say go to jail because I think you have to go to jail. So that was a Monopoly reference. For the purposes of very clear, it means that you just die and respawn in a hospital or in a location.
Massive damage can cause death. I think it's safe to say that later versions of medical gameplay down the road will include things like cloning and maybe regeneration of limbs, and I would also put treatment of burns in that category as well, but for now, I think that this early version will stick to the things discussed in that video. For now, and maybe even later, if you decide to just give up the ghost and respawn, you will now respawn only at the hospital you have chosen to spawn at in case of emergencies. I believe the type of insurance you select will play a role in that, but if and what kind of insurance options we get and if they will be in 3.14 is not yet known. An insurance card was recently shown on an Inside Star Citizen episode, and it mentioned things like the hospital you can choose and the choice of prosthetics or services you gained with that particular insurance. So why would you choose to not respawn now and wait around for someone to come treat you? That's simple. It all comes down to localized inventory. Right now, we have a pretty crummy inventory system. On the one hand, it's sort of easy to have everything you own in one endless bag of storage. However, with 3.15 comes localized inventory, where you will need to be mindful of where you put your things, and more importantly, in terms of medical gameplay and respawning, your stuff will remain back with your body. But I will go over that more in a minute. As I mentioned earlier, at the beginning of this video, my wife asked me how it would be possible to make a decent living as a medical professional. She and I got to thinking about that. I told her that as you gain better reputation, you could become more trusted and therefore be on call for organizations or maybe certain players, especially those who enjoy FPS missions, because that seems where most of the injuries will probably stem from, at least early on. You could also make some money from medical gameplay missions, but I doubt it will be anything like you make from bounties or mining. Cost came up as well because I would assume that later down the road, creating the different medicines used in the medical guns might become a cost, not to mention the fuel for your Cutlass Red or Apollo. Perhaps medicines could be gained from doing medical missions maybe? Maybe growing or picking up medical plants could be a lucrative side hustle that pairs nicely with medical gameplay. Overall though, I just don't see any way of making decent money unless you just have rates, and as people are lying they're dying, you wait for that credit transfer before reviving them. So what do you guys think? Will medical gameplay be profitable or just fun? But maybe it's hard to maintain. So here's a scenario. You accept a mission to go clear out a cave on Hurston where a group of hostiles have taken up residence for a cool 40,000 credits. It's rumored that there are 10 known criminals in this gang, and so you fly there solo and land. You load up your weapons and favorite armor, which you have stored on your Cutlass Black. You grab ammo, grenades, and a med pen or two. You're ready to bring these criminals to justice, the down and dirty way, because currently the Bounty Hunting Guild isn't taking any live bounties. You have a license to kill. You enter the cave and go into combat mode. You carefully and quietly make your way through the tunnels, careful not to be too loud because FPS scanning and ping also recently got revamped in the verse, and so you know that stealth is your ally. You take out 1, 2, then 3 and 4 of the known 10 criminals in the cave, all without even breaking a sweat. After going deeper into the cave, you soon come across the 5th and 6th criminals and dispatch cold justice to them. As you reload your weapon, you hear a gunshot, and seconds later, searing hot pain rushes through your right arm. You almost drop your boneyard rifle, but manage to just hold on to it as another hot wave of pain tears into your upper thigh, spinning you awkwardly down behind a crate. You manage to pull out a med pen to stabilize your overall health, and then drag yourself to find a vantage point to try and get a shot on unseen criminal number 7 and hope there's not a number 8. The fall caused you to hit your head, and so you start to feel dizzy, your vision beginning to double. Is this it? Is this how it all ends? You hear footsteps shuffling forward. Perhaps they are coming over to check to see if you're dead. You prop yourself up, then hold your weapon in your left hand, but your aim is all over the place. At that moment, you see criminal number 7 around the crates. You fire short bursts. You miss him at first, and he fires, but you swing the gun back to the right to finish him off with a couple to the head. He drops, unmoving. You gasp for air and realize that he shot you in the chest as well. You begin to breathe more heavily as you start to lose consciousness. You are able to get out a message to anyone in the region who can zero in on your failing body and are able to help. The last thing you hear before passing out is that Heals for Kicks is on the way, but will they reach you in time? Things go dark. Then, in what seems like an eternity, you are revived. Heals for Kicks is kneeling over you, a med tool in hand with various chemicals. Your chest is stiff, your arm and leg feel dull, but dull is better than pain. You ask what was in those drugs, and she merely shrugs and helps you up. The two of you go back to her ship, which is standing by. She flies the Nightingale, an RSI Apollo medevac ship. Once on board, she gets you to a medical bed and you lay down. The ship takes off and you hear her bark orders to a pilot to get you to Maria Pure of Heart Hospital on the other side of Hurston. You don't feel the RSI boosters or much of anything really as the ship makes the journey. Heals for Kicks gets your arm and leg healed, but you notice she winces when she looks at your chest wound. You could be close to death for all you know, and from the look on her face, you very well might be. Within the hour, you land at good old Lorville. Heals for Kicks wheels you on a gurney off her ship and to the hospital. She maneuvers the gurney like an old pro, and you ride along helpless. The meds she gave you are starting to wear off as you enter the hospital. Heals for Kicks yells out a few words to a nurse, and you are taken into a medical room with the most fancy medical equipment you have ever seen. Then a bright light, and you're out. You wake up to find your chest healed. You are allowed to leave the table and you find all of your supplies tucked away in a nearby storage closet. You get geared up and head out of the operating room and into the waiting room where you see a vaguely familiar face. It's Heals for Kicks and her hand is out to greet you. You quickly shake her hand and reap praise her way. She smiles and said that it was no problem, but she hasn't been waiting around to shake your hand. She says you now owe her 100,000 credits for her and her pilot services. Your debt has come due, and all while doing a cave bounty mission that was only going to pay out 40,000 credits. Some days are just not easy in the verse. Makes you wish for a simpler time before death of a spaceman. So that is going to do it for this here Fireside chat. I hope this video got you as excited for medical gameplay as I am. I can easily see the scenario I just mentioned playing out daily in the verse. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the profitability of being a full-time medic, or will it just be something that works better as a part-time endeavor, or only for orgs? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this exciting new gameplay feature. As always, stay positive, citizens, and I'll see you next time. Take care and stay healthy in the verse.